Okay, Lane Shrog here. Um, I did 3D printing on using Tinkercad mostly, and then using MakerBot to connect to the printer to print it. Um, so I used Tinkercad to make the objects. What I made was R2D2. So I'll go to this one. I chose this project because I like printing stuff, and I did it 2 years ago, and I wasn't able to print everything because the printer didn't work, and now we have a printer that's working. So yeah, let's delete this box. Okay, so this is actually my leg right here, and we'll go to the legs here. So these are the legs. I printed these. Those holes in there are so the connector can go in between there and connect this to the body, which was the big orange thing you saw. These legs are not just a shape that you can find over here. These shapes you can just drag, and you drag. There's a tube. There you go. Not much to it. But these legs are, I think, let's see, one, two, three, four different shapes. Well, two are the same shapes, but they're not the same. So I have two boxes that are rectangles. There's one right here, and this tall part from this line to that line is a box. This bottom part is let's see, where is it? Is a pyramid. It's a pyramid flattened down, and then this part at the top is the round roof. So when you click on it, ungroup everything. So the printer will print it as all one shape and not multiple shapes. So it's all together and they're not separate. And if you notice, this one has a hole at the moment, and this one does not have a hole. And that's what this cylinder is here. If I click on that, this is a cylinder, and I rotated it using this right here, and I made it a hole. If I make it a solid, then if I would group them, this thing would be sticking out of the legs, and you don't want that. But if I make it a hole, and then I click and shift click, when I group them, and I don't have this leg grouped, so it won't do anything to this one. But this one, when I group it, see, and it makes that hole. And that's where grouping is really, really nice. You can make holes easy. I mean, and another thing I love about Tinkercad is this align button. This really helps. So if you want to align, then these, oh shoot, here, shift click, let's scroll on. You want to align, then these circles pop up. So, I mean, it kind of shows you, this will put it so that they're even this way, and this one will put it that they're even this way. And so now, I mean, it fits perfectly. So let's go back a little bit. So now if you just have it here, and you try to drag this one, and you can't get it perfect. It just doesn't work. So if you do that, and then shift that one, shift click, align, it's going to be precise. Now this one, it doesn't show up, but this one does height. So let's say I just want like half of this box. If I click this one, it will only do a hole in this one. So now, since one's a hole, one's not, hit group, bingo. And it just takes it out, which is really nice and makes things a lot, really, really easy to work with. This is the connector that goes in this hole and then the hole in the leg, so it stays together. This connector is, so how I did this is that cylinder that was a hole, well, this cylinder right here, I basically took a cylinder, made the exact same size but didn't make it a hole, put it here, and then I started cutting out and putting rings around. That's how I made the connector. So since I didn't want to print everything at once, what I would do is I'd go here, click on this, and I'd hit copy, and then I'd go to designs, new design, and then I'd go and print into another one, print that. So if this is my body, then I'd export. I'd click STL, and then I'd export it. Then I'd go to MakerBot. This one is the body. So I went to File, Insert File, didn't name them, oh, no, but I mean you can tell that it's the body. So open, and that's the size of it. It looks like it's going to come in sideways, but it doesn't. And that's the size of it. And that's really, really, really small. If I would have had to print my connectors that small, I don't think it would have happened. So, two-finger click, edit model, then I went to scale, and I scale it right here 400%. And you gotta move it so it's in the middle. Yeah, that red, if it's red, that means it won't print it because it's outside of the box. You have to move it in, and the height is really close. Anyways, and when you do 400%, it makes Y and Z 400%, everything, so it scales it. So when I made the legs, brought those in, scaled them to 400%. The connectors, at first, I did them at 400%, but when I tried to put them together, the printing material isn't the most flexible, and so when I was putting it in, it snapped. And so I printed them at 399%, and then they work together perfectly. To print, you have to be connected to start off with the printer. You have to be on the same network, which I am not since I'm at home. So the school's internet, you can connect to it, and you hit export. It'll take a little bit to transfer all the files to the printer. Once it does that, then you can close out. And also, when it's printing, you can actually watch. And this button's actually really cool too. It estimates and kind of shows how everything's going to print. But if you're on the same network, you can actually watch the printer. The printer has a camera on it, which is pretty cool. There. So it also has this part, and you can change like how many layers. This had a lot of layers, obviously. 562 time estimate 10 hours, almost 11 hours to print. That's a long time. And this thing, it just shows you how it prints it, exactly how it's going to do it. And that yellow part, that's the base. It always prints a base, and then your object, and then it goes. Anyways, that's pretty much 3D printing. You can learn, there's a bunch of how to do everything. I mean, Tinkercad is very, very user friendly, which really helped me. It was easy to start working, so I don't have to waste time learning stuff that I really didn't need to. And once I learned it, I could just start going and making stuff and have a great project at the end.